lot of Beatle news to get to. And of course, the biggest news story of the past 2 weeks, we have to acknowledge, of course, the sad news of the passing of Denny Laine. Now, to Beatle fans and Paul McCartney fans, he'll best be known for his many years in Wings. In fact, other than Paul and Linda, he was the only member of the group who was there from start to finish, and then went on to participate in the tug of war Pipes of Peace sessions. Before that, he was in a couple of bands where he had contact with the Beatles. First with a band called Denny, Laine and the Diplomats. They shared a bill with the Beatles in July 5th of 1963. And with the Moody Blues, they played with the Beatles with many of the top bands of the moment at something called Pop Prom at the Royal Albert Hall, September 15th of 1963. This is with bands like the Rolling Stones, Herman's Hermits, Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders and others. And speaking of a star-studded cast, there was the Moody Blues and the Beatles being a part of the NME annual poll winners for 1964 and 65 at the Empire Pool in Wembley, along with the Rolling Stones, the Animals, and the Kinks and others. The Moody Blues also were part of the Beatles' UK tour in December of 1963, from the 3rd through the 12th. Most of those dates performing 2 shows each day. And also, it should be pointed out that for a brief time, Brian Epstein managed the Moody Blues as well. And he died on December the 5th from interstitial lung disease. Ironically, Denny died on the 50th anniversary of the release of Band on the Run, at least the U.S. release date, which is December the 5th. It was November 30th in the U.K. We did a tribute on my other podcast show to Denny on Things We Said Today, and I read a few quotes from various people sharing their thoughts on the passing. Of course, I have to read Paul McCartney's quote. He said, "I am very saddened to hear that my ex-bandmate Denny Laine has died. I have many fond memories of my time with Denny from the early days when the Beatles toured with the Moody Blues. Our 2 bands had a lot of respect for each other and a lot of fun together. Denny joined Wings at the outset. He was an outstanding vocalist and guitar player. His most famous performance is probably Go Now, an old Bessie Banks song, which he would sing brilliantly. He and I wrote some songs together, the most successful being Mull of Kintyre, which was a big hit in the 70s. We had drifted apart, but in recent years managed to reestablish our friendship and share memories of our times together. Denny was a great talent with a fine sense of humor and was always ready to help other people. He will be missed by all his fans and remembered with great fondness by his friends. I send my condolences and best wishes to his wife, Elizabeth, and family. Peace and love, Denny. It was a pleasure to know you. We are all going to miss you. Love, Paul." You know, that's another sad thing. He just got married to this woman, Elizabeth. I think it's only like 5 months they were married.
Yeah, July. I think I saw
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Axl Rose said, "Very sorry to hear of the passing of Denny Laine. Wings has always, on the daily, been a big part of my life. Certain people you might never think, people who are part of the hard rock field. So many of them love the Beatles, and you might not be aware of it. Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees remembered Laine by saying, 'A friend, a wonderful person, and a great musician. You and your music will be sorely missed.' Stephen Bishop paid tribute to Denny. He said, 'Incredible talent. Denny's musical style and songwriting influenced so many. His contributions to the Moody Blues and Paul McCartney's band Wings will forever be iconic.' And a few members of Wings weighed in. Lawrence Juber. Denny was Paul's right-hand man. When I was a session musician in London, Denny recruited me to replace Jimmy McCulloch as Wings' lead guitarist in 1978. He was a compelling songwriter and performer, a rock authentic, having a deep soulfulness infused with a folk sensibility." Denny Sywell said, heartbroken with sadness at the passing of my pal and bandmate Denny Laine. My heart goes to his wife Elizabeth and his children. He was a one of a kind for sure. God blessed him with a spirit for music and making people happy. My wife Monique and I will miss him terribly. From the time we spent together at our farm in Scotland to our Wings tour bus to the stage, he has taken a big part of our hearts with him. Rest in peace, my dear friend. A couple more people here. Nancy Wilson of Heart. A sad day to lose the great Denny Laine. We recently played Carnegie Hall for the Music of Paul McCartney benefit. My admiration for Denny goes back to his work in the Moody Blues and, of course, Paul McCartney's Wings, and he co-wrote one of my all-time favorite global hit songs, Mull of Kintyre. I'll forever cherish the thrill of singing and playing with him on my birthday, the best gift of all. And finally, there's Bev Bevan, who was the drummer in Denny Laine and the Diplomats and later became the drummer in ELO. He said, I am so sorry to hear that my old friend Denny Laine has passed away. He was such a talented singer, guitarist, and songwriter. He had been in hospital for a long time when we were in touch with his wife Elizabeth. We thought he would pull through, but sadly not to be. Denny and I met in 1963 when he asked me to form a group together, which went on to be called Denny Laine and the Diplomats. And later that year, we opened for the Beatles at the Old Hill Plaza. He was the most positive person I'd ever met. He was totally sure that he would make it big in the music business and told me that I would too. The world of music has lost a great talent. Rest in peace, Denny. Bev. Really nice things being said about Denny Laine there. And so I thought we'd all just, spend just a few minutes each talking about what Denny Laine has meant to you, to each of you, and I'll share my thoughts as well. First, we'll have Kit say a few words.
Sure. I mean, boy, those are just incredible thoughts that people shared, and I think it just shows. Think about when Paul. Of course, the Beatles broke up. Paul was on his own and recorded